Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all. Welcome once again here on the forum of raising awareness on the front page of international news. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, who was very agitated vis-à-vis Russia, has just sounded the alarm. He has just issued a serious warning to all of NATO and all of Europe regarding this. What Russia represents in terms of danger and also and above all due to the excessive modernization of Russia's military equipment, Mark Rutte does not want European countries to be caught off guard. So Mark Rutte took the time to inform European countries of the danger they are running because Russia, in his own words, is 5 to 10 minutes away. We have missiles capable of hitting the whole of Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a stinging admission. It is a stinging admission of failure. That's a confession that says a lot. Mark Rutte, he still had the obligation to make this admission to open the minds of his European partners. In the context of this video conference, it is this news that we will talk about. But before we continue, I humbly ask you to share the video conference as much as possible. Share it in all possible groups, put a lot of like, and do not forget to leave an opinion in the comment. And if this is your first time coming across my video conference, I ask you to click the subscribe button. Subscribe. That is what this is all about. Welcome once again to the Forum for Awareness Raising, the Secretary General of NATO. Issue warnings. He issues a warning. He says that the direct threat of Russian missiles is within reach of Europe. In other words, Mark Rutte insisted on the proximity of the Russian danger. He insists on the proximity of the Russian danger. He says that with the new generations of missiles, it only takes 5 to 10 minutes to hit any European capital. From Vilnius to Madrid, 5 to 10 minutes to hit any European capital. All European capitals are within easy reach. Russia has them in hand. Here's what he says, if initially. These are people who had underestimated Russia's military capabilities. Today, they are the ones who recognize this and who say that, of course, precautions must be taken, measures must be taken. Otherwise, the Russian danger is imminent because Russia has modernized its war arsenal. Russia, with the war of attrition in Ukraine, with the desires of Western capitals, Russia sharpened the intelligence and its experts of these scientists. Russia has therefore equipped itself with a new category of weapons that can obviously move from continent to continent with unprecedented speed. And this is what scares NATO until the secretary, the boss, the Gunther, the very head of NATO, Mark Rutte's message then comes out of his reserve. He says that the whole of Europe is now a potential front. The whole of Europe is now a potential front. It is not only the Baltic countries or Poland, because initially people thought that so, as Poland is still a little closer to Russia, as the Baltic countries are still a little closer to Russia. It is they who, in case of any case, can be potential fronts. Mark Rutte comes to say no, that is no longer the case. Russia can strike any capital. It's between 5 and 10 minutes, that's for sure. So Rutte acknowledges that Europe now lives within immediate range of Russian fire, and that is the summary of her statement. And so it goes on, it doesn't limit itself there. Mark Rutte denounced it. the multiple attacks that are attributed to Moscow. He made this denunciation, the affair of the GPS fog of civil planes like that of Ursula von der Leyen over Bulgaria. You know, Russia had come out, Russia had denied it. But look, Mark Rutte says it's Russia. Even if Russia says it's not Russia, it's Russia. Europe's weaknesses are rejected. On Russia, the issue of cyber attacks, including those against the British health system that we have seen recently, is also Russia. The targeted murders of economic figures in allied countries are also Russia, according to Mark Rutte, obviously. So Mark Rutte, he rejects the idea of a small incident because some are certain have begun to say good what happened to the plane of Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission, who saw the GPS, a sound, the GPS of his plane being jammed and who was forced to land urgently in Bulgaria. People talk about a small incident. He says, no, it's not a small incident. He's talking about major threats. So when the GPS signals of aircraft are jammed, it is the security of the whole of Europe that wavers. This is the summary of Mark Rutte's intentions regarding what happened and therefore strategically. What does Mark Rutte's statement lead us to? I have to say, Mark Rutte continued to speak. He said that NATO should strengthen its conventional and cyber defenses. He says NATO must strengthen its conventional and cyber defenses. He says that NATO should proceed to intensify multi-joint exercises. Increased anti-missile systems. We need to multiply anti-missile systems. We need to increase spending or military budgets. So you see the Russian narrative that says Europe is militarizing itself if the narrative materializes. Here's NATO coming back to that. But what they forget is that yes, they only have to militarize themselves. They only have to equip themselves with the most powerful weapons. They just have to, and obviously increase military spending. But while they are doing, Russia is multiplying by 10. Russia is also not sitting asleep. This is what scares them. So Mark Rutte, he says, we are working day and night to counter these threats. This means that Europe and NATO are not sleeping, since they consider Russia as a country. A danger, he works to counter the Russian threat. So behind the road declarations, there is a double message. It means that no European citizen is safe. Prepare to live under constant threat. And to the allies, the message is to increase your financial and military contributions. That's all. So, ladies and gentlemen, this was the front page of international news. Thank you for sharing it as much as possible. I will return to you shortly by the grace of the Almighty with new news. It was the voice of your only samurai.